Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Samantha Barry. I'm the editor-in-chief at Glamour. And we're going to try our very best to get an amazing actor, contender for all things on this chat, because I know a lot of you have lots of questions. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm so proud of myself that I just figured that out.
Katrina, I'm waiting for something to fall. I have this up on the ring light, so I'm like, is it going to fall over? Who knows? There's always some technical difficulties. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Lovely to chat to you.
You too. I had so many messages this morning when we put up on our Instagram that we were going to chat to you. I have so many fan questions I want to get to, but also my phone blew up with everybody from Ireland going, "You can talk to Caitriona. This is amazing."
All the folks back home.
Exactly. Okay, so I really want to talk to you about Belfast, which is a phenomenal movie. I was bawling, crying, and you play Ma. It's set in 1969, and it's a mother of two that's really struggling with the fact: does she stay in her home, the place that she's known her whole life, or does she um, travel and make a new home to protect her family from violence? What drew you to the role?
Oh God, well, I mean, many things. I had been looking for something to do in Ireland for a very long time. And first of all, when I got a phone call to say Ken Branagh has written a script, he's going to direct it, he's thinking about you for it. You kind of don't really have to hear anything more. You're just kind of like, yes, thank you. But to be able to tell a story from home, I haven't really been involved in an Irish project before. And even though in the end we didn't actually film in Belfast, our stuff, it's still being in that company of so many Irish actors, an Irish director. Um, it felt like I was home, and the story was just so beautiful. I mean, I think we haven't really seen a story about the North and about the issues in the North through such a human lens, through the eyes of a child. I think it's important that we've had films that sort of look at the political sphere and sort of investigate things from a more political lens. But I think it's also high time that we saw something really just about an ordinary family that had to, cope with this, because so many people never asked for it. So yeah, it was just all of those things. It was.
And there's these really touching moments that happen throughout the movie, and it is, three generations. We do see it through the lens of the 9-year-old, but it really is. There's some standout relationships that you see in the movie, and one that I remember just choking up and was when your character is sitting next to her sister on a curb talking about where their future and where it was a lot about identity. When you started playing that, you grew up just outside the border in 1979 in the height of the Troubles. Did you think about that your childhood as you were playing the character of Ma?
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously when you've grown up in Ireland, especially along the border or in the north, it's not like you kind of have to do research to figure out what happened. You know what happened. But at the same point, I went back and I looked. There's so many amazing videos and interviews, of news footage of those exact days, of women from those exact streets talking. And it just like it sort of hit me in this wave. I don't think, obviously I left Ireland a year after the peace process, and since that time there's been relative peace, except for a few things here and there. And so you kind of put all of the things behind you that you experienced as a kid. And I think when I started watching these videos and listening to these women speak, you sort of get hit with this wave of just sadness at the tragedy of it all and what went on. And I think you absorb a lot of things as a kid that you don't quite, understand, or you don't quite sort of consciously know what that is. And I think that definitely came up, sort of, we would cross the border weekly, when I was growing up. And even having bomb scares in our town and things like that, or just even having this kind of constant newsreel in the backdrop of your life, of people dying, people getting shot, bombs, those kind of things. you know I think on some level that does impact you, and definitely, you know, a lot of that came flooding back. More when I was doing the research, because I think once we were in it,
Mm-hmm.
actually, we were having such an amazing time. It didn't feel like we were making something heavy, even though there are heavy moments. Um, but yeah, definitely beforehand.
And even you talk about that, right? Growing up and crossing the border and being at British checkpoints. And I read a story about a bomb scare where I think you ran away from your sister, and you tell it in this very familial way rather than the fact that you were on a Saturday out with your sister and you ended up coming downstairs and there was a bomb scare and the whole village was evacuated. But you tell it through the lens of a sister.
Yeah, and my poor sister's been like, I can't believe you're telling everybody I slapped you across the face. Um, but you know, I was probably 12. You know, I think I was in my first year in secondary school, and me and my friend Sandra, we were being very naughty. And anyone who's listening who's young, don't ever do this. We were smoking cigarettes up on the top floor of a cafe, which I can't believe I was doing that at 12 years old. I was such a little brat. But you know, we came downstairs and the entire town had been cleared and there was guards everywhere and there was, you know, sort of police tape or whatever everywhere. And my poor sister was terrified. They'd been looking for me for probably about 45 minutes and they didn't know if a bomb was going to go off, if it was just another scare, if there was going to be something. So, yeah, she took out her fear on me.
Tell us how was making Belfast? Because you made it when we were still in a bit of a lockdown during COVID. How was that process? And we had a lot of questions in from the audience who are asking about you playing that role. Like, you know, people were asking, just looking up, Abby was asking, what do you do before you make a take on a really emotional scene? How did you set yourself up for Belfast? But tell us about that process. How was filming that with the amazing Kenneth Branagh and Jamie Dornan?
I mean, it feels really trite to say this, but it was just, I don't know, there was kind of something really special about it when we were filming. Um, we came out of lockdown one. Nobody really knew what was happening. We were one of the first productions to go up, and we sort of from the very first day we got there, you know, Ken did this beautiful thing where he got us all in a room and had us share. And so from that first day, there was a real openness, and everybody was really just in a lovely way, sort of very eager to connect with each other and very eager to sort of make this family bond. So when we were filming, you know, Jamie and I have spoken about this, and he's just such a joy to work with. Like, he's one of the easiest guys. He is so talented, but it's so effortless with him. And, you know, he just has natural charisma and charm in spades. So he and I just found this very easy rhythm with each other. And I think weirdly, it's so weird that our paths had not crossed kind of before this, apart from one hello at
You
Toronto.
both had parallel lives as models,
Yeah.
right? In the like late 90s, early 2000s, you were both on the catwalks and in
Well, he
campaigns.
on the catwalks. He was very much an editor, as he says. He was making too much money to do catwalk. He was, you know, he was sort of the mega campaign superstar, and I was the, you know, catwalker. So in a strange way, our paths hadn't crossed, but we've had a very similar sort of life, you know, fashion, and then he did The Fall, and sort of, you know, 50 Shades has sort of a similar crossover with Outlander in terms of our fan base and certain things like that. So we sort of understand each other in a very easy way. So it felt very organic. And in terms of when you go to do a scene, I mean, you have this gift of what's on the page. The script was so beautiful. Um, but you know, Jamie and I would kind of arrive, and you know, from the very first kind of rehearsal or whatever, we would be on the same page with things, and we would, you know, we would sort of just feed off each other in a really lovely way. And you know, yeah, it just it feels like a cheat to say it was as easy and fun. You know, obviously you do your work and you prepare and all of that kind of stuff, but then on the day it just felt really nice.
And one of the things that I have discovered recently is that your appetite to direct, and it's something that you talked to Kenneth Branagh about. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to get advice from anybody, an amazing place to sort of start. I've been lucky. He's the second actor director I've worked with. And when I worked with Jodie a couple of years ago, she was amazing. She gave me loads of advice as well and encouragement. And at that point, it was sort of like a tiny kernel in the back of my head that I was, still sort of even scared to admit to myself that I wanted to do. Um, and at this point, I think it's no secret that I've said many times now that I would love to. It's just about finding the right thing and at the right time. But he was great. Ken is one of the most generous people. He talked a lot about just his journey and how he found it. And, he was always prepared to sort of share with us kind of lens information, or he has this great viewfinder that has the names of all of his films written on the sides of them. And so he would like let you look through at sort of different setups and stuff. But it was just more, I think you learn the most just from watching somebody do. And he is one of the most respectful and, meticulously prepared, but then in that same way allows you space to create. I think that's kind of the biggest lessons I'll take away from him.
We had a lot of people asking us in the questions about who would you love to work with going forward. And they named some names. And one of them in particular stood out for me. A couple of people asked, would you like to work with Emily Blunt? But you have worked with Emily Blunt in a very small way.
I don't think I can really claim that I've worked with Emily Blunt. I think my feet passed in front of the camera on one day. I mean, she's amazing. Yeah, I would love to work with her. And actually, Jamie had just worked with her prior to doing Belfast, and he wouldn't stop raving about how amazing she is. God, my list is as long as all my arms. I feel like I've only really been in the business for a decade, just a little bit over now. And so much of that has been on the amazing Outlander. And, I feel like there's so much that I want to do. One of my favorite films, or some of my favorite films that I've seen this time at the moment, I mean, The Lost Daughter is such a gorgeous, gorgeous film. And, I've always been a huge fan of Maggie's anyway. I'd love to see what she does next. And, just
beautiful
now,
directorial debut. Made me very anxious watching it, but like a brilliant movie.
But such an amazing female story. And I don't think we get films from that perspective, solely from that perspective, very often. And what a gorgeous examination of the complexities of motherhood and being a woman in that kind of sphere. I just thought it was so beautifully done, but also so beautiful, like such a gorgeous visual film. But there's, name any name. I want to work with everybody.
A lot of other people were suggesting Charlize Theron for some reason. I don't know what the backstory with that is.
Also, what an incredible actress and like human. I would love to work with any of these. I mean, the fact that I'm sitting in a conversation with anybody, even saying those words, is crazy. So.
You talked a little bit about your Outlander fans. We had lots of them message us. And I think it's so interesting how passionate they get about you and your characters. And one of the things that I discovered was that there is it thousands of trees that have been planted around the world for your 40th birthday and beyond. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How did that come about?
Well, I just found out because I didn't really know what the sort of inception of that was, and then somebody tweeted about it the other day, and I guess I had said on something, we should plant more trees, and then they, being the amazing people they are, for my 40th birthday, they were like, let's get like 41 trees planted, and that quickly became, I don't know, like 4,000 or and then they did it for my last birthday as well, and it's, I mean, I think it's 120,000 or something. I can't
amazing. Remember. What do they call it? They call it Belfast.
Belfast. I mean, what an
amazing.
And I can't take any credit for that. That's all them. That's all the amazing things they do. And, I'm a patron of a charity, World Child Cancer, and they have been so supportive of that charity from day one. They're just amazing. I just think it's been such a gift, and I've been so lucky to be part of this show that has this wider audience and this wider fandom that was there prior to us coming. And they welcomed us with open arms, and then it has sort of grown and expanded. And it's quite an unusual thing. I don't think a lot of people get to be part of something like that, and it's really quite amazing.
Lots of people are asking where you consider home now, because obviously you spent so many years in Scotland. It's award season, lots of time I imagine spent between LA and London. Where do you consider home?
Oh, I mean, I'm an absolute nomad. I think since I left Monaghan at 17, I think I haven't really lived in one place for very long. I probably lived in New York and probably now Glasgow for the longest. I don't know. That's an interesting thing. I think right now, wherever my husband and son is, I think that's probably home. Um, I'm feel really fortunate. I think I'm a citizen of the world, but Ireland
Same.
will always,
Same.
always be
Same.
home at the same
We
time.
actually had a question. Somebody asked what you were reading to your son. What's the bedtime story? Because they wanted to get that book for their children. Do you have
Uh,
anything in particular?
well, yeah, we're trying to like routine. It's so crazy. He's only like 5 months, but it's like loves books already. So the big favorites are, well, there's The Fox Has Lost His Socks. He loves that one. The That's Not My books, which are hilarious. Like That's Not My Dinosaur, That's Not My Puppy, That's Not My Robot. He loves those. He gets very excited. His legs start going. But the one is like the and this actually we started reading this book. Someone gave it to us, and it's really beautifully illustrated and everything. But it's Big Nut Brown Hair and Little Nut Brown Hair, which when you're trying to read that
Just say it
book,
out loud.
it becomes a bloody tongue twister. You're like, could you not have picked easier names for these two lovely hairs? But yeah, it's the I Love You to the Moon and Back one. So
Oh, putting parents to work. Well, another person asked, I think it was Annie that asked, how are you balancing it all? Because there's a lot of press at the moment for Belfast. Is it you back filming for Outlander at the moment? No, that's over
not quite.
already.
We're gonna go soon. How am I balancing it all? I'm not. What I've discovered every woman and mother does is you just sort of try and half-ass everything and hope that nobody notices. I'm very lucky. I have an incredibly supportive partner, and we have an incredible nanny, and that allows me to work during the day. But it's every evening you're rushing home or you're hoping to get finished to sort of put the baby to the bath and bed, and still waking up many times during the night and all those things. But
You don't look sleep deprived at all, so I will say you
that's
look
the part.
amazing.
That's also what I have. Is I have an incredible hairdresser, Gareth, thank you, an incredible makeup artist, usually Mary, but today it was Lucy. So I'm very lucky.
How are you feeling about award season? Because there is a lot of Oscar chatter for you in particular and the movie in general. How are you feeling about that? Does that put extra pressure on?
No, but there's no pressure because the movie's made, our work is done. We've now given it to the world, and anything that comes now is so out of your control. I mean, I think it's mad. I don't think any of us expected this at all. And it's lovely that the film is still getting talked about. Obviously it just came out in Ireland and the UK this weekend or last weekend, and a lot of other places in the world. So it's so lovely that it's continuing to have a life, that people are going to watch it. Um, I would say it's just really fun going to all these nice events, but so far they've all been in this bedroom. So
Yeah. Lots of virtual things. I feel like,
lots.
yeah, hopefully by Oscar time we'll be able to celebrate and do something.
Exactly. But I feel, just so happy for Ken because this is such a personal story to him. He put his heart and soul onto those pages. And, that must be a really vulnerable thing to sort of put it out there and it be about you and your life and your family. And the fact that people have resonated so well with it is just, it's so lovely.
And I went to see a screening. The Cinema Society in New York did one, and Kenneth came to it. I think it was before Christmas, maybe around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I burnt the ear off him afterwards, talking about like how powerful the movie was. What is the reaction you've been getting to particular scenes in the movie, or from the audience that have have started seeing it? Because as you said, it's just been released in the UK and Ireland in particular.
You know, it's really lovely. I mean, it's funny because up until this point, audiences at home hadn't really seen it except for like when we did special screenings. So we've sort of had this backwards reception where we took it to people who didn't have that first-hand connection with the story. But what was amazing was how universal that story seemed to be. You know, I have had so many people be like, oh my God, I didn't know that Indian mothers and Irish mothers had so many things in common. Or, you know, Ken's had people come up to him from all over the world and be like, that's my story and that's my story. And so that's been really quite amazing because when we were making it, you sort of think, all right, well, hopefully audiences in Ireland or the UK will connect with this. But it seems that it just reverberates because I guess at the heart of it, it's just a coming of age story, a story about a family overcoming obstacles, which is something we can all relate to. But now it's so lovely that it's being seen at home and it's being seen in the UK because I'm getting loads of messages from people who it just brings back floods of memories for everybody. You know, either their experience, because I have so many friends from the north, their experiences growing up, or people are talking about their grandparents a lot. Like that's a big thing that people just kind of go, oh, my grandmother or my granddad and all these kind of things. So it's lovely. It's really nice.
I love that. Lots of people are asking, let me do some quick fire questions. Lots of people are asking how you prepare for scenes. I've seen a couple in the chat there, but in particular, let me get, Yakin wants to know how you prepare for scenes, especially those emotional ones.
It's different every time. I think, you know, I think as an actor, I feel like the biggest thing you do is daydream, which is so good because that's one of my top skills, which is good that I became an actor. You know, it's just sort of like, I guess, in a way, a daydream, a meditation, that kind of thing of just putting yourself in that place and allowing your mind and your emotions to sort of like still and let the situation or the circumstances sort of come into you. Music's a big one. You know, I always use music in terms of helping me get to a certain place. And then it's so much of it is who you're working with. You know, I'm someone who really relies on my coworkers, and when you are as lucky as I have been in my career with the people I've been working with, and Jamie Dornan is just incredible. But when you start a scene with somebody who's giving you so much and who is so open and isn't about ego or anything, and you're both just feeding off each other, I mean, that's just such a lovely thing. So it allows both of you to soar.
How do you describe the character of Ma to those that haven't seen it yet?
I mean, she's such an interesting character. On one hand, she's almost like this warrior Boudica, you know, fighting for the protection of her children. But she's also a very fragile little girl at the same point who is so scared of the unknown and so scared to leave the sort of only stability that she's known. But she's feisty and she's fun and quick to laugh and quick to anger and quick to love.
I love it. Lots of people are in the messages saying hi from Argentina, hi from Australia, hi from Brazil. Any travel plans this coming year?
Well, travel is vastly more complicated now that I have a little one. You know, we've come to LA right now. And, you know, unfortunately, you have to think about, well, you know, it took him so long to sort of get his sleep back in pattern. You know, jet lag is not fun for anybody with a little one. And I'm going back to work very soon. So unfortunately, I think even though the first thing I said after the pandemic was I want to go traveling, I think that's going to be put on pause for about another year.
And you say you're going back to work. Could you imagine when you were sending that self-tape in for Outlander that you would spend so many years and 6 seasons in Scotland filming something that has become just an epic fan favorite? When you did that first self-tape, right? You did a first one and then you changed agents and you did another one.
Yeah, I mean, like like I've always said, it's sort of like a crapshoot. You just always send things out and you never know if anyone's going to look at it past the first 3 seconds. So I, you know, the fact that I'd taped the audition twice, you know, you really like, I think sometimes you get so disheartened when you're an actor at that stage and you do one and nothing comes of it. And somebody says, no, do it again. You're like, oh, really? Like they didn't like the first one, you know, what's but I had no idea. I mean, you know, I'm just very grateful that it's been such an amazing experience.
Were people surprised? I've seen people in the comments going, I didn't know she wasn't British. Some people surprised sometimes when you come out with an Irish accent after playing Claire for so long.
I think people were in the beginning. It's funny. I think most people, unless like it's funny over the pandemic. I think we've acquired quite a lot of new viewers, which is so cool. But you know, our diehards, they've heard me, they've heard me on, yeah. So they were all well aware.
Amazing. Okay, let me go through before you have to go, and I know you're very busy. Let me go through a couple of the other audience questions. Do you have a favorite scene in Belfast?
I think probably where Pa thanks Ma for raising the boys. It's such a sweet scene.
I love that. Lots of people ask what you watch, and lots of people asking if you watch Succession for some reason.
Oh, yes, very much so. Love Succession. At the moment, I'm watching the second season of The Great, which I absolutely adore. And I'm trying, you know, time is very limited these days, but I'm trying to catch up on the movies of the sort of what's happening at the moment.
Love it. I love it. And I love that you watched A Lost Daughter. Somebody asked, is there a genre that you don't see yourself doing, like horror? Is there anything you'd rule out?
Not because I would rule it out, but I think they would rule me out. I can't ever see myself in a musical.
It's really... There's a lot of music and dancing in Belfast, no?
Yeah, you don't hear me singing, so.
I was surprised. Jamie's voice is quite impressive, right?
Oh, he's amazing.
Yakim asked, what is the one director you would love to work with?
Oh my God. There's so many. I don't know. That's like everyone from Jane
for grabs.
Howard. Like there's so many people.
Okay. What is your favorite outfit that you've worn to the Belfast premiere so far? To pick favorite outfit.
Oh, I'm trying to think. Brain doesn't work. You know what? The first one, the Stella for AZ Factory that I wore to the London premiere because my son was like very new and I was feeling very unconfident about myself and I put that dress on and it made me feel great. So that's my favorite.
Oh, I love that. Okay, and this is the perfect one to end with. What will you be doing to relax after this whirlwind press tour? It doesn't sound like you have time to relax.
Oh, I won't be. You know what? It'll just be really lovely to be back in our home and you know, be in my own bed and sort of have our own things all in one place and not live out of a suitcase. That'll be nice.
I love it. Caitriona Balfe, I will be looking, I think it's Tuesday, February 5th. Oscar nominations are out, and I expect with all my heart to see your name there and Belfast's name there. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us at Glamour.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Thanks, Caitriona. Bye.